So you may be wondering, just how do I respond to a difficult person? Here's the good news. You don't need to fix them, but you do need to adjust how you respond. And depending on the situation, we've all got options. Now, the first option that comes to mind is collaboration. Try to work together, even if you don't see eye to eye. This only works if they're willing to, though. If someone insists on getting their own way, it doesn't work at all. Avoidance is a second possibility. Sometimes we just need our own space. Now, Shirley was thinking about moving out to escape her noisy neighbour. Avoidance can protect your peace, but long-term, avoidance might not help us grow or learn to get better boundaries, especially if they are a family or a co-worker that's the problem. Thirdly, there's passivity. Well, this means letting things slide. It's not the same as being sneaky or passive-aggressive. It's just doing nothing. And passivity might be the best move sometimes, but if it becomes our usual response, it can leave us feeling walked all over. Assertion. Now, it's not shouting. Assertive is not being aggressive. It's certainly not sulking. It's clearly and calmly saying what we need. Like this fella Jack, who started to say no with confidence because his mate kept making demands on him. Or this girl Shirley, who wanted to be firm with her neighbour without flying off the handle. Sometimes we have to point out consequences like, I won't be able to help next time if this keeps happening. That can work, but we do need to be careful. Threats can escalate things if they're not handled well. And if we want to be assertive, we have to be prepared that the other person might be assertive too. So a negotiated compromise may be the best we can hope for. And then there's being forceful. Now, being forceful in the right circumstances is necessary. I don't mean being violent or even being aggressive, but being forceful in the sense of expressing clear, strong boundaries when someone is out of line. A police officer stepping in to stop someone doing something dangerous. A parent needs to be forceful by yelling "stop" at the top of their voice to keep their child from running into the road. A woman pushing away unwanted sexual advances. No apologies needed. You see, there are moments when a calm tone just won't cut it. And stepping up is the safest, smartest thing to do. Now, whatever response we might feel works best, handling difficult people isn't about pretending everything's okay, and it's not about steamrolling over them either. It's about learning how we could effectively respond and choosing the right tool for the job. So I tell myself next time someone gets under my skin, hey, pause, breathe, reflect. Pick my response with intention, not just overreacting. That's how we stay calm. That's how we can be kind and in control, even when things could have got messy. So, let's be honest. Once a relationship's gone a bit sour, improving it can feel like trying to glue a smashed vase back together with toothpaste. It takes patience, timing, and sometimes a bit of distance. Now, on occasions, the best move can be simply to wait and step back. Don't necessarily force a conversation or even a confrontation. Just give it some breathing room until a better moment comes along. Wait for the right moment. Or, if they never seem to come along, create one yourself. We might spot an opportunity when things get less tense and when we suspect the other person, who's normally very difficult, is a bit more receptive. So, for example, when this girl Shirley wasn't alone at home, if she were to invite her noisy neighbour around when his loud music was on, then he might more easily hear for himself and appreciate the nuisance he was causing. Freed of the desire to shout at him, perhaps she could find the patience to persuade him to use headphones. She might even lend him some to encourage him to buy his own. Or maybe, instead of retreating altogether, it's worth staying lightly involved. Like Jack, for example. Jack's friend could be a bit much, always needing something, always expecting help, but Jack still loved their tennis games and post-match chats together. Cutting him off completely would have been Jack's loss too. So rather than ghosting the guy, Jack might be better off learning how to say no in a way that doesn't burn bridges. Sometimes the key is a kind of tactical pause, pulling back a bit, keeping things cool, and waiting for the right time to speak up or set some boundaries. It's not about being passive. It's about picking your moment wisely. Let's face it, we're all stuck dealing with someone who's difficult in our lives. It could be a family member, a co-worker, a neighbour. That one friend always turns up into being about everything to being them. It always turns everything to being them, who wants to talk about themselves all the time. And while we can't magically make them easier to deal with, we can try to understand what makes them tick. You see, the trick is to figure out what they care about, what really drives them. Some people are obsessed with looking important or ultra attractive. Others want to feel in control. And some are all about saving money or blaming someone else for their problems. So, instead of going head to head, we might ask a few open-ended questions, trying to find out what's really behind the behaviour. People are often more manageable once we get on their wavelength, because then they start to feel they're being seen and heard. So, it's a bit about empathy, isn't it? Empathy? Well, that's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean? It's really about getting where someone else is coming from, not just listening to their words. It's really tuning in to their tone, their body language, their energy. It's stepping into their shoes, or as the North American saying goes, walking a mile in their moccasins. And let's be real, this isn't always easy, especially if the person you're trying to empathise with is frankly a pain in the neck. But sometimes, if we stop and ask, what's really going on for them, we can soften our stance just a little. True empathy isn't about proving who's right. It's about seeing and listening, not to reply or to fix, but to understand. Mark Twain brilliantly put it this way: if we were supposed to talk more than we listen, we'd have 2 mouths and 1 ear. It's particularly powerful to show empathy when someone's being emotional or acting out, though. Why? Because when someone feels heard, they're more likely to open up. and maybe even reflect on their own conduct. But fair warning, it takes some guts, it takes patience, it takes practice, especially if the person gets on your nerves. But here's a thought. What if we didn't do it to win favour, if we didn't do it to look good, but just because it's the kind of person we want to be? The truth? Empathy is a skill, not a superpower. It grows with use. To really empathise, we've got to slow down and remember that other people have needs too, not just me. That doesn't mean we abandon our own needs. It doesn't mean we tolerate bad behaviour. But it does mean we choose to see other people as people, not just difficult people and not just problems for us. But empathy is not the only way of dealing with difficult people. It may be important. Another way is to criticise the person who's being really difficult. Now, here's the thing about criticism. A lot of people can't take it, especially those who are super sensitive. You say one tiny thing and they act like you launched a full-time attack. So you back off, you keep quiet, and the problem just festers. Silence doesn't fix anything. As Winston Churchill said, criticism may not be agreeable, but it is necessary. It is like pain. It tells you something you need to attend to. So how do we do it well? How do we do it without causing a meltdown? Well, showing respect helps. If you can come from a place of genuine respect, rather than from a place of frustration or judgment, it's easier to keep things calm. Instead of blaming, describe what's bothering you. Don't say, "You're being awful." Say, "I'm finding the noise really hard to deal with." Don't say, "You're being a bit of a bully." But say, "I feel uncomfortable visiting when the family feel browbeaten like this." You can disagree without being disagreeable. And that's the vibe we're going for. Imagine if Shirley had marched over to her neighbour's place, shouting and slamming his door because of his noise. Would he have listened to her? Probably not. But when she kept her cool, showed a little respect, and explained things reasonably, it would have been difficult for him not to shut the door in her face. Criticising someone is not easy, especially sensitive types. But having empathy for their feelings, using assertion skills when necessary, and showing respect and feeling it for them all help us to be more effective in what we say. Thank you for listening to me.